Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to discuss about climate change. So nowadays, often we hear news about climate change from news channel, from social media, on newspaper. But let's know more about it. What is climate change? To know about climate change, we need to know what is climate. Climate is overall average temperature at a place over a long period of time. But weather is a temporary condition of atmosphere of a place. According to nasa.gov, climate change referred as a long-term shift in temperature and rainfall in a region. For example, a long time ago, like 20,000 years ago, most of the United States were covered with snow and the climate was much colder. But today, the climate is much warmer as we have a few glacier left, sea ice is decreasing. How do we know climate is changing? So science have provided evidence about climate change. If we look at this graph, it's very clear that since 1940, uh, the average surface temperature is increasing. We see only warming trends. Other than that, we have other evidence as well from many parts of our environment, like the sea surface temperature is increasing and the water vapor on the ocean is increasing, sea level is rising, and the sea ice is decreasing, and the temperature on land is increasing, but the snow cover on the land is decreasing and glacier is decreasing. All these things are the indicators of warming world. And we know that climate is changing. So since 1880, the Earth's surface temperature has risen above 2 degrees Fahrenheit in total. So let's look at climate change in New York. Although climate change is a global issue, but it is felt in local scale. According to Yale Climate Communication, average 73% people in our Dutchess County, New York, believe that climate is changing. So we have evidence from science communities. This is showing the northeast region's temperature per decade, how it decreasing since 1900, and we also have evidence for the New York temperature, annual maximum temperature, which is also increasing. We see from 1952 the temperature is linearly increasing. What causes this change? The main driver of this change is CO2 emission, carbon dioxide in our atmosphere from fossil fuel combustion and industrialization. Other than that we have many other driver like deforestation and fertilization used for agricultural land and increasing livestock. Everything, all these things are um, causing climate change. If we look at CO2 level in the atmosphere, we see that before industrialization, we had around 280 parts per million ppm, but today it's almost double, 422 ppm. And the presence of carbon dioxide gas in the Earth atmosphere is natural, but the rising content is because of the industrial revolution since 1980. And in this graph, we can see that the how human activities contributed to temperature change, temperature increase. Um, this is, and if we didn't have industrialization, we should have here. The level should be here. And let's look at our New York situation. Um, Here I have a very nice graph. The big blue bar, large blue bars are from energy sector, and that is include the all energy use, like starting from and electricity and transportation, residential heating, residential electricity use, all the energy sources are included here. But this is the largest portion of emission in New York. Other than that, we have emission from waste, agricultural land, and the industrial process and product use. Climate change is impacting our local communities, and 6 in 10 Americans say that climate change is impacting their local communities, according to pewresearch.org. And 70% of communities living near coastal areas are heavily impacted by climate change. For example, if we look at New York, the uh, mid-Atlantic locations here see the sea level rise from 2 to 4 inches since 1962 today. And other than the sea level rise, we see other impacts as well, like extreme storm and heat events, which are becoming more and more frequent and posing a great threat for our state. And because the rainfall event is causing the flooding throughout the many parts of the state. Those are the where the direct impacts, but we have some indirect impacts as well, like the climate change, especially those extreme weather events is accelerating social threats like poverty and famine, and it's impacting our global food supply as the warming temperature is unpredictable, and the unpredictable precipitation is affecting our local crop production. Climate change disproportionately impacts certain communities and ethnic groups and economic classes. It's according to NY Department of Environmental Conservation. So, do we have any solutions for climate change? Yes, we do. Responding to climate change can be two ways: adaptation and mitigation, or sometimes both. The adaptation is an action taken to reduce the negative impact of climate change, and mitigation is an action can be taken to reduce the severity of climate change by reducing or preventing greenhouse gas emission. Adaptation action include climate resilient infrastructure and disaster management, and change agricultural practice and more resilient agricultural process. And also in local level, we can do like the better management of early warning system for weather extreme events, and improving program to adapt climate change for vulnerable communities people. Mitigation actions especially include like we need to reduce fossil fuel combustion, and we can do that by improving our public transportation and using public transportation more and more, conserve energy and use energy efficient technology, and use renewable energy, limit or prevent deforestation, plant more trees. And we know that plants are carbon sink. It absorbs more carbon than it releases. And also we can do like reduce litter, recycle properly. We call it like reduce, reuse, and recycle. And getting involved in climate action movement. In conclusion, I will just say that based on science evidence, we believe that climate is changing and climate change is happening. Climate change is affecting New York, especially New York City, in those coastal areas, people. And we see the temperature, precipitation, and sea level rise, and more often extreme weather events. So New York government is leading the effort to adapt and mitigate climate change. But as a community or as an individual, we need to take an action. You need to take actions. Thank you.